Hi everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. Welcome to Sit Down. Hanging out today with Amy Hargreaves, 13 Reasons Why, Homeland, you got it all. How are you?
Oh, nice to meet you. Thanks
Very
for having
nice to
me.
have you. So, brand new season of 13 Reasons Why. This has been a really interesting show because it obviously dives into a really deep topic in suicide. And also with Netflix, like we were just talking off camera a couple years ago, like Netflix isn't even a thing.
Yeah, well, it existed. It was the DVDs you would get in the mail in those, you know, little red envelopes.
And then you had to return them, and you're like, I got 3 of these things.
Yeah, I never
like, cool.
actually did it because I couldn't be relied upon to get that back. It sounded like a lot to me. But my friends all did it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I was always returning my stuff late to Blockbuster anyway, so it's like I couldn't even be trusted
Remember
with that.
Blockbuster?
Yeah, there's like literally one Blockbuster left.
Is there still one left?
I think there's one, or maybe the last one just closed or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
my membership ran out a while ago.
Yeah, and then Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix, so that doesn't really look so great.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And,
yeah, and they passed. They were like, no.
They're like, no, this isn't gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
And now we have shows just like this.
And here we are. 13 Reasons Why. You know, one of the biggest shows on the channel. Whatever you call it, the streaming service. Yeah.
So what's it been like seeing this show grow over the last couple of years?
It's been really exciting and really gratifying. You know, I knew when I booked the job that it was going to be a meaningful project. You know, we had this, you know, the source material was this beautiful bestseller by Jay Asher that had been on the New York Times bestseller list for YA titles for years. So many young people knew about this book, and it meant so much to so many young people. Then we had Selena Gomez on as an executive producer, and her mom, Mandy Teefey. And we also had Tom McCarthy on as the one of the executive producers and the director of the pilot in the first 2 episodes. And he was coming off his win for Spotlight for Best Picture. So I knew that it was going to be a show that had a lot of impact, and I also knew from my first days on set that the writers and the executive producers wanted to handle the material with a lot of care. We had mental health professionals working with us. We had resources, you know, wherever we wanted them. We had support animals on set with us. Season 1, when there were some, you know, difficult scenes being shot. It was really, I felt like it was going to be something important. And I feel like, although the path has kind of meandered a little bit in terms of the way that the show has been received, I feel like ultimately we have created something that's really meaningful to a lot in people and their families, I hope.
So how do you think it's meandered? You know,
well, you know, it's, I think whenever you know, in pop culture something's going to be kind of a big hit or get a lot of attention, you're kind of opening yourself up for criticism and backlash. And this show especially with such, you know, hot button topics like suicide, which is, you know, there's an epidemic of suicide among,
we need to talk about it.
We need to talk about it, exactly. So, but it's an emotional issue, it's a sensitive issue. So I feel like, you know, it was, you kind of stick your neck out and you're bound to get, you know, I'm mixing my metaphors,
but
you know,
you're going to get it from both sides.
You're going to get a little blowback, exactly. But I think ultimately we've had a positive impact on young people, and the way that I feel like we've helped maybe young people open up a little bit and be able to kind of talk about things that maybe they weren't able to talk about a few years ago. But also on the receiving end, people are a little bit more open and a little more patient and a little bit more aware of some of these topics we've brought up, and they're ready to hear that also. So I think it kind of works in both ways.
Even just the conversation about mental health, because like you said, a couple of years ago, we're not having interviews where we're talking about this stuff. Even with family members, it's not really a comfortable thing. But now there's shows for kids to watch, and it's like, all right, these kids are going through it, I'm going through it. I can actually relate to this, which I think is such a huge thing.
It's kind of universal, and we can talk about it, and we can ask for help.
Right,
you know?
And everybody's going through stuff, too.
Exactly, and that's something I really appreciate the partnership that our show has had with the Crisis Text Line, which is a very kind of young person's, I sound like I'm a grandma or something, but it's like, it's a text line where you can text for help and get a response back almost immediately. And they've been a supporter of the show, and we've kind of helped push out the idea that, you know, that this exists. And I know my 16-year-old daughter has friends. My daughter told me this, that she has friends who have used it.
There you go.
And you know, I feel like we've at least, you know, raised awareness about that, that it exists, and young people in a way that they're comfortable with on their phones texting can kind of reach out for all kinds of help, not just
even therapy you can do too now through text.
Can you really?
Yeah, there's like an app for therapy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You text about it?
It's a whole thing, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, as opposed to going in person, if you're just not comfortable with that.
Yeah, some people might not be
texting
comfortable with
therapist.
that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's been like another new wave of this
I know people who like Skype with their therapist or whatever when they're away, which is kind of neat. But texting, that's taking it to another level.
Next wave of it.
I kind of like it, yeah.
So it seems like this has kind of been interesting for you on a number of different levels. What has been most fascinating, whether it's about YA culture, suicide in general, what has kind of blown your mind?
What's been the most fascinating? There's been a lot of stuff. I mean, it's been really eye-opening for me as a mom.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like, I'm raising my kids in New York City. They're pretty, there's a lot going on in our world here in New York. And I felt like I was kind of like in touch with kind of teenage life or whatever. But I feel like all of this stuff has, the show has helped me kind of open up my mind towards, the secret lives of teens and allowed me to talk, especially to my daughter, about, I mean, there's issues like, people with like different sexuality and, very open-minded and yes, you do whatever you want, love is love, all of that's great. But my kids, we talk about this kind of stuff now and my kids have kind of taught me kind of language and openness that I didn't even realize I was missing, so I feel like, 13 Reasons Why has been a little window into like, allowing us to kind of communicate better about all that kind of stuff.
And you think about how you teach your kids with everything, but there's a perfect example of like something that you didn't interact with in your life growing up, but now is totally a normal thing.
Exactly.
And so now it's your kids teaching you like, hey mom, this is what's going on at school. This is how this person identifies. This is what this person's up to.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's pretty interesting, kind of flip the table.
It's amazing, and I've learned so much from them. I mean, my kids were already my IT people since they were like 7, so that's done. And now they're like teaching me about different pronouns and they, them, and she. I'm like, wait, what? Huh? Okay, wait, hold on. How do I? Okay,
but even your openness to that conversation is great because there are some parents that are just like, wait, I don't understand this. I'm not even going to engage in it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're doing that is cool.
They're trying. It's not a straight line, and you have to kind of.
It takes time.
It takes time, exactly. But the apprentice becomes the master, and that's the way things should be. So it's good. Yeah.
So we've seen a couple seasons of 13 Reasons Why. When did you really feel like it was cutting through? Because obviously Netflix, suicide, like that's gonna start to ruffle some feathers in a way. But like, when does this become a bigger thing than just that run-of-the-mill show?
I think it did from when it premiered, honestly. Like season 1, it kind of blew up really fast. And like I said earlier, I knew it was kind of going to be big, based on the book and the people involved.
Sure, but to this level, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, you never really, so that was kind of shocking to me to see it go that big. And also, having been on Homeland, which, has been quite a big show and had like a cultural impact, but it's like a different audience. 13 Reasons Why is like all these young people, and all of a sudden it's like Instagram and and not so much Twitter, but it's been kind of a funny learning curve for me to figure out how to do all that stuff.
Right.
And again, thanks to having 2 teenagers, I learned immediately, like, Mom, you're not allowed to like your own posts. I'm like, why not?
What if I look good?
I did it. I like it. Right? Mom, don't. Okay.
Or like, hey guys, somebody just direct message me like, what's this thing?
Exactly. I literally just screen grabbed to my son at college. Like, we get some funny, funny DMs. And so I got something that was really hilarious, and I just couldn't. I screen grabbed it before I deleted it, and I sent it to my son because the person was like, da 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 da, my guy, called me my guy, which I just thought was. I told you about it before.
That's great.
And my son was like, ha, So anyway,
that's awesome.
Try to relate to the kids, on their level, the social media.
So are your kids into all your stuff? Like, have they seen Homeland? Are they watching this?
Not really.
Are they just like, oh, that's mom's
my son could care less. Like he's got his life, which is great. And my daughter, watches 13 Reasons Why, and. They watched Homeland. They've both been on set with me on Homeland, which is pretty neat. But this is kind of my job. I mean, I think sometimes they see how other people react to me in weird settings, and they're like, oh yeah. But other than that, they're kind of just like, I'm mom.
Right, that's an interesting thing because they just know you as mom, and then you're going somewhere and you're like, oh, you're from this show? That must be a little unsettling at first.
It can be weird, especially things like right after 13 popped, my daughter and I were on the M15 bus coming up First Avenue and coming back from I don't know where. And there was like a dad across, and a daughter across the aisle from us who was like clearly like videoing me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, it was weird because it was a dad with a kid. I'm like, that's like a weird example to send your kid. And also, I was with my daughter, and I'm very kind of protective of that.
Bubble.
You know, if you want to deal with me, deal with me, but don't. So I just called him out on it. I'm like, hey, if you want a picture or a video, you can just ask me. So let's talk. And he's like, oh, I was trying to video chat or send the video to my other daughter, who I was like, oh, okay, well, we can just, let's take a picture and you can send it.
Yeah, like, you're cool with it. You
I'm
get
right
the
here.
protocol, but like that's a whole different thing. Like, I'm a human being still. Like, can you just like not film me like that?
Yeah, and
like,
I have a kid.
That's a weird thing.
Just talk to me.
Yeah, so. I'm just a regular person.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know how we got there, but
we'd like to take all these twisted turns.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Homeland, and I told you off camera. There you are.
Maggie.
I just binge watched this whole thing, and I haven't.
Wait, so are you caught up?
I'm fully caught up.
You went through 7 seasons in like a couple of months?
Probably like since the spring. So
are you traumatized?
I'm totally in on it.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been times where I've just been like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? But at the same time, I've been just really enthralled with the whole experience.
Oh wow, I'm glad. Are you so pissed about Quinn and
yeah,
that's
definitely.
Are you one of the like? Have you gone on? Don't go on Twitter because like Quinn, like the super fans. I mean, God bless them, but like
they freak it out.
There's some people who are like, no Quinn, no Homeland. I think there's actually a Twitter
Seriously?
like which I get it. He's an amazing character.
Well, Quinn was great, but there's so many different people to check out in Homeland.
I think so.
Like even your character,
Maggie.
Like having that whole runway the past season must have been a cool thing for you.
I was so moved by what they wrote for Maggie for season 7. I couldn't believe it because I was on seasons 1 through 4, in and out, and then 5 and 6 you didn't see Maggie at all. Carrie Matheson was off saving the world and doing her thing in Berlin and wherever else, and then season 7 they call and they're like, yeah, we want to use Amy a lot this year. I'm like, great, okay, excellent. So and then I saw these scripts coming in. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not just little. This is like, it was mega stuff.
This is major stuff.
Yeah, and I love that whole team. From Claire, obviously, and Alex Gansa, the showrunner, Leslie Linka Glatter, who is one of the executive producers who directs a lot of the really huge episodes. It's just such a great team, and so much of the crew has been there, pretty much on and off since the beginning. So it's kind of like, when I went back last season, it was like coming home again to like a really great group of people, and ultimately to play with Claire, to be able to share these scenes with her is so so special, and she's so fantastic and so talented and such a lovely person, and it's just, I was thrilled.
And there's so much going on with that relationship between Carrie and Maggie, because it's like,
I know.
It's
I'm getting tingles. It makes me very emotional.
Part enabler, part just like, I don't even know what to do with you.
I know.
So how have you unpacked that over the years?
I'm gonna cry. It makes me so upset. I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about it. It's just really, it's a complex relationship.
It is.
I have siblings, so we have a messy family. Well, like a good messy family, but like a big family.
Everybody has messy stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't know how I'm able to put my finger on it. But, Maggie, the sister who's no fun, is the person who just always has to come in and, she's, if you kind of saw, 7 seasons in a short period, so maybe this will be fresh to you, but maybe not for some other people. But our mother kind of bailed a long time ago. Dad was kind of a little bit manic into it. Yeah, exactly. And Jim Rebhorn, who has since died in real life and on the show, which was a real heartbreak for all of us. And then there's Claire's character of Carrie, who shares his kind of, bipolar kind of stuff. And so Maggie's really the only one kind of left holding the bag in the family, and I think she's always had to be the responsible one, and it weighs on her, and it's a lot.
Well, especially with Franny in the mix.
And now with Franny and her, and she's kind of been able to, and it was really nice last season to have Mackenzie Aston on as my husband Bill, who, for the eagle-eyed viewer, Bill has been talked about a lot.
That's right, yeah.
Never seen, unless you were paying attention to, let's see, season 4, I think it was, when we were in South Africa.
Okay.
You didn't know we were in South Africa, but we were at the funeral for Jim Rebhorn's character. Next to me in the pew was an actor who was playing Bill. He was a background actor from Cape Town, South Africa, who I was like, oh wow, they're like, I was kind of bummed out because I was like, oh, I guess we're not going to have a storyline with Bill if they're casting a background actor from. But that's they kind of cropped him out. I think if you really watch closely, you can see him for 2 seconds.
That's like some hardcore stuff.
Not
there.
Mackenzie Aston.
Wow.
So when they cast Mackenzie this year, I was so happy because he's such a great actor and a great guy.
That's really awesome.
So yeah, I appreciate that Maggie has been able to kind of build a kind of like a stable home for herself and her 2 children, and one of whom is at college now, Ruby, I think. Josie, Ruby, no, Ruby's at college. And then, you know, take in Franny with love, and yeah, it's upsetting to me. It's very, it makes me emotional.
It's a very emotional show. It's thrilling, and it's also emotional. It's a long burn, yeah. And there hasn't been a character like Carrie that we can see. It's like, this is a woman who has flaws, this is a woman who's bipolar, but this is a woman who can also save the world.
Save the world, exactly.
It is remarkable.
She's a superhero.
Yeah, and I think that's why the show has stuck with so many people.
I think so, yeah, I think so. And I think really, I've heard from a lot of people that last season, people really loved it. So hopefully people will stay on the hook for season 8.
I think you got to, right?
Yeah, got to see it out to the end.
I mean, what, February we're talking about?
I think it's January, February, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
And they've been, they were in Morocco for a few months. This is public knowledge, so I'm not ruining anything. But they've been shooting in Morocco for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. So a big chunk of the season is over there, and now they're back in the States.
Well, it's really interesting how shows like Homeland or even 24 back in the day kind of look ahead to stuff that is going to happen. So like the chilling stuff in season 7 with all the misinformation and you know that thing, and then even going previously just the domestic terrorism stuff. Like,
I know.
It's a lot of scary stuff. And so just like thinking forward, even woman presidents we've seen in shows, and you wonder when that will happen. Like
hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon, yeah. And it's always really interesting to kind of go inside that writer's room and be like, all right, what could potentially become reality? And then it actually becomes reality. And I'm sure for you, like that must be a wild thing to like shoot a show and then see something actually happen.
See it. Yeah, sure. Basically it's a testament to the talent of our writers and the showrunners to be able to kind of see into the future like that, you know. And they do. Alex Gansa and the team from Homeland, they go basically to the CIA every year, every season before they're going to start writing the show, and sit down and have these, you know, big deep meetings and info sessions where they learn a lot of stuff and they talk about a lot of stuff. And I think they also have sounding boards. They have people like on the inside that they can say, hey, would this be the way this would be portrayed, or how would this, you know, that kind of thing. And so that lends something like Homeland a lot of credibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing for me too, since I watched it in such a short amount of time, was that I was like, oh, there's Brody, and then I watched Billions, and I'm like, wait, Damian Lewis?
Yeah, Brody. He's in New York.
I'm like, whoa.
He's making so much. He moved up from that, like you know, starter home in the suburbs.
Yeah, so like that whole part of the show too is just like it's had all these different chapters. And I think it's cool how the show has reinvented itself so many times.
Yeah, that Brody stuff was pretty rough.
Especially the way that things ended with him.
Yeah. Spoiler.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, check that out.
Yeah, that was terrible. I mean, yeah.
Absolutely. So you got a bunch of other things going on too. How about Sister Amy? Let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, Sister Amy. Yeah. What a great
I saw the
project.
trailer for it.
Did you? It's so amazing.
It looks pretty fascinating there. So what's going on? How did you jump into that?
So Amy Semple McPherson was a real woman who lived in the early 1900s out west, and she was a Pentecostal evangelist who was a huge superstar.
Yeah.
She would every weekend have thousands of people come to her, like tent revivals, where she would do the healing people, laying the hands on people, and she was like the Julia Roberts of her day. She was charismatic. She would sing. She would heal people. People would come from all over to see this woman. So this is all real, huh?
Right.
At one point in her life, she disappeared for like 3 or 4 months, I think. And it was on the front page of all the newspapers. She just vanished.
Wow.
And like her assistant was like, maybe she drowned. Like there was all kinds of weird stuff. People didn't know where she went. And then all of a sudden one day, she reappeared walking in the desert a few months later.
Oh my God.
And it was like, she's back. So what Samantha Buck and Marie Slingerman have done is they took that window of time, that period of Amy Semple McPherson's life, and they kind of fictionalized it a little bit. So what we have in Sister Amy is the story of what happened to Amy Semple McPherson when she went missing.
That sounds really interesting.
So, and it's the tone is, it's kind of funny, it's kind of dramatic, it's a little bit of a road movie, it's a little romantic, it's a little capery, it's really fun. And my character, I play her former sister-in-law, who isn't a big fan of hers, basically. So the cast is great, and we premiered at Sundance.
Cool. Yeah, that must have been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, we had a blast. It's just a fantastic movie. So I can't wait for it. Yeah, it's going to be released September 27th.
Oh, so it's coming
in
soon.
limited theatrical release, and then it's going to go a little bit wider a week or two later, and then eventually, be on demand.
Well, that's the great thing. It's like just throw it in theaters, let people go there, and then it's like you can get it at any time after that.
I know. It's really evolving, which it's kind of. The old-fashioned part of me likes to have the experience of seeing it on a big screen, and this is like such a. What's amazing about this movie is it's a period piece, but done on a pretty small budget, and they pull it off because like period pieces are expensive to make. You need to have all the this and that and the other thing, the looks, and they did it. It's so great. So I think it really deserves. If you can see it on the big screen, you should try.
Well, I admit that I just went to the movies for the first time in like 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have a baby or something? Are you not allowed to leave the house?
I don't know. My fiance's just like not into the whole movie thing, but I wanted to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So
what'd you think?
I thought it was amazing.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, people in the theater were loving it too. I was laughing too.
Me too.
Like the last 30 minutes were like insane.
Yeah, I loved it so much. I laughed a lot, but at the end, I sat there while the credits rolled, and I just cried my eyes out. I was so, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but I was so moved by the kind of twist that happens at the end, and the idea of what if, like what if things had been different.
Absolutely.
And that kind of just wrecked me.
Totally, because you think about how talented Sharon Tate was.
Yeah.
And you think about just what her life could have looked like.
Yeah, and I kind of took offense also to the way that, I know Tarantino was criticized for not kind of featuring Margot Robbie more than he did, but I felt like, first of all, her portrayal was amazing and beautiful, but I also felt like it was a full picture of a woman, like the scene where she goes to the movie theater to see her film, even though there wasn't a lot of dialogue, it was this whole beautiful long sequence of her kind of just radiating in the excitement of her success, and you saw what might, come in her career and in her life, and she's pregnant. And
the facial expressions say so much with her, especially in the theater. She's looking around, smiling.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought her portrayal was gorgeous.
Totally. And to have the real Sharon Tate footage in there, too.
That was so, I'm getting chills. It was really beautiful. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those you kind of have to see a couple times too.
I want to see it again.
Because I missed like all these people making cameos in there, and I'm like, wait, this.
Scoot McNairy was in it. Yeah, it's my fave.
There you go. Like that's a perfect example. I'm like, wait, what? Like,
I know.
Where was
Michael
he?
Madsen was in it for had like 3 lines.
Yeah, like Luke Perry was in there.
Luke Perry was fantastic.
Which scene am I talking about?
Yeah, all those movies within the movies and TV shows within the within the movie were really, really fun.
Absolutely.
The whole Italian sequence when there was all those movies was just...
And even just like the whole Manson thing and the girls and all that stuff.
Over on that, their ranch and stuff. Yeah, that was great.
It definitely was. We had Damon Harriman here who played Manson in the film, and then he did Manson in Mindhunter also. So he's just
in the new season.
In the new season.
See, I haven't seen. I haven't watched the new season yet.
So, but like I hadn't seen it before he came in, and like he's literally in there for that one scene when he comes to the house.
Exactly.
And that's it.
It's
but
not a lot.
Just this menacing figure.
How was he in real life?
He was a cool dude.
Is he creepy?
No.
Not at all. He's totally acting that.
He's totally acting. And even him, who's like, I spent all this time studying Manson, he's like, I still don't know what makes him tick. Like, I couldn't even get to that. After all the footage and the audio recordings and the music.
Right, all the research.
Just couldn't figure it out.
Well, I think he's just,
a couple screws loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple, 2, 3.
Few more, yeah. But I think it's a really interesting time because you have movies like that, you got small budget stuff, all the streaming stuff. Like,
great shows like Mindhunter, and it's. I feel like there's a lot of really cool opportunities for actors right now. I feel really fortunate to be working when I'm working because I'm able to bop around between all these different things, and I just need a Marvel movie. That's my next thing.
That's your next
and then
thing?
I'm done.
It feels like everybody wants to jump into that
We
world.
all do, of course.
Most of the movies that are making money and they're...
It's only, exactly.
And they're cool things, I get it. So it's just like, this is the last checkbox, especially for you. Like, you've been doing all these different parts.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, yeah. Or maybe it'd be nice to come back to New York after, because we shoot 13 Reasons Why out in the Bay Area, which is amazing. Love it. But since I've been doing that, I haven't really been able to do any theater. So maybe when we're done with season 4, I'd like to come back to New York and do a play.
When was the last time you did a play?
Right before, probably 4 or 5 months before I I started working on 13 Reasons Why. I did a play at the Cherry Lane Theater called Laugh It Up, Stare It Down. It was a comedy.
That's awesome.
I thought I was hilarious. You didn't see it, so you know.
Hey, I'll take your word for it.
There you go.